back to SecretSpool's Feel Good Friday. I'm Tessa, and tonight's story is about the kind of hope that stays alive even when life gives you every reason to let it fade. It's about longing, identity, and a missing piece that refused to stay buried. Sometimes, a story begins with uncertainty and ends with a kind of healing no one saw coming. Tonight, you'll hear how a woman's quiet courage led her to a father she had never met, and to a family she never even imagined she belonged to. For most of her life, Louise Walters lived what looked like an ordinary, peaceful existence in Nottinghamshire. She grew up surrounded by familiar streets, familiar routines, and the comforting presence of the man she believed was her father. From the outside, everything about her childhood seemed steady and predictable. But deep inside, beneath the normalcy and the laughter, there was a small ache forming. Something she didn't yet have words for. Something that would shape her life in ways she didn't expect. That ache began the day her mother, Angie, sat her down at just 8 years old and gently told her the truth. The man raising her was not her biological father. At that age, Louise couldn't fully grasp the complexity of adult relationships or the pain of lost connections. But she understood enough to sense that something vital had been hidden from her. A corner of her identity suddenly felt blank, and that quiet emptiness followed her into adolescence, then adulthood. Angie tried to explain what she could. Back in 1969, when she was young and living in Brighton, she had a brief relationship with a man who called himself Gary. Their time together was short but warm, filled with the kind of early life hope that makes people believe a future is possible. But when she became pregnant, he vanished without a warning or goodbye. He didn't leave a note or a message. He simply disappeared, leaving Angie with unanswered questions and a responsibility she faced alone. Over the years, Angie offered Louise different possible explanations. Maybe Gary had gotten into trouble, maybe he was locked up somewhere, or maybe he had passed away. She wasn't trying to mislead her daughter. She was trying to make sense of an absence that had once blindsided her. But for Louise, these vague, shifting pieces only deepened the mystery. Every child deserves a story that makes sense, and Louise grew up feeling like hers had a chapter missing. As she matured, that missing chapter became harder to ignore. When friends joked about looking like their dads or inheriting their temperaments, Louise quietly smiled along while feeling something tighten inside her chest. She wasn't angry at anyone. She wasn't resentful. She simply wanted what so many others took for granted. An origin story she understood. She wanted to know who she looked like, whose traits she carried, and what pieces of her personality came from someone she had never met. Even everyday tasks echoed that absence. Medical forms with long boxes for family history stared back at her like questions she wasn't allowed to answer. Family resemblance, hereditary quirks, sibling similarities. These were concepts she observed, but never truly experienced. She loved the family she had, but she also wanted clarity, connection, and the ability to see herself fully. She wanted to understand the part of her story that had never been told. In 2010, after years of quiet wondering, Louise reached a breaking point. She needed answers, not for drama, but for peace. So she placed a small advertisement in the Lost Touch column of the Brighton Argus. It read, "I am trying to trace a Gary Pavella who lived in Kemp Town in the late 1960s. Her mother remembered that Gary once ran a barbershop called Pavella's, and that detail became the anchor they built the ad around. It was A small act of courage, but a powerful one. Once the ad was printed, Louise waited, hopeful but realistic. A month passed, then another. Seasons changed, years moved forward, and life continued its usual rhythm. Yet she still kept the tiny flame of hope alive. 3 years went by without a single response. It would have been easy to give up, to accept that the past was locked away forever. But Louise never fully let go of the possibility, no matter how small, that someone, somewhere, might still see her message. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, everything changed. One afternoon, Angie received a phone call from a woman named Marie Anne. She said she believed she might be related to Louise, not as a distant cousin or a long-lost family friend, but as a half-sister. Those words felt surreal, almost impossible. Louise felt her world expand and contract at the same time. After decades of silence, the past was finally speaking back. The truth that followed was even more surprising. The man she'd been searching for wasn't named Gary Pavella at all. His real name was Graham Pavella, and he was not only alive, but well into his 80s. And in one of life's strangest coincidences, he had recently been searching online for relics of his younger life, trying to find memories connected to the nickname he once used. That's when he stumbled across Louise's ad, still online after all these years. Seeing his old nickname in a stranger's message hit Graham unexpectedly hard. Memories rushed back, some warm, some painful, some full of regret. Realizing someone was looking for him stirred emotions he hadn't let himself feel in decades. Unsure how to contact Louise directly, he reached out through someone connected to Marie Anne. That single decision began a chain reaction that would reshape the lives of everyone involved. When Louise finally heard Graham's voice over the phone, she felt something inside her soften and settle. It wasn't dramatic or overwhelming. It was quiet, grounding, and strangely familiar. She said the moment felt like finding a piece of herself she didn't even know how to describe. It didn't erase the past, but it filled something that had been empty for far too long. But the most astonishing revelation was still coming. During their early conversations, Graham shared that he had fathered 12 children throughout his life. 12. Suddenly, Louise wasn't discovering a single missing piece. She was discovering an entire constellation of siblings she never knew existed. She went from being an only child to being connected to a sprawling, vibrant family tree. Her siblings were scattered across the world, one living in Sweden, one serving as a monk in Thailand, several living throughout the UK, and one who had sadly passed away. Their backgrounds varied, their lifestyles were different, and their personalities stretched across every imaginable spectrum. But they didn't hesitate when Louise entered the picture. They welcomed her with warmth, curiosity, and a sense of connection she felt immediately. Louise described the experience as finally stepping into a chapter of her life she hadn't realized she'd been waiting for. Her siblings didn't treat her like a stranger. They treated her like someone they had somehow always been meant to find. They compared stories, shared memories, laughed over odd similarities, and embraced the wonder of suddenly discovering each other after so many years. For Graham, reconnecting with Louise brought a kind of peace he hadn't known he needed. He told her, "I have a lot of children, and I love them all. No matter how long we're apart, my feelings don't change." Hearing those words gave Louise something she had been missing her entire life, a sense of clarity, belonging, and emotional closure that finally filled the silent space inside her. Thank you for listening to tonight's Feel Good Friday story. I'm Tessa, and this story is a powerful reminder that healing can find us in unexpected ways, even through something as small as a newspaper ad. If this story warmed your heart or gave you hope, please like the video and subscribe to SecretSpool. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other.